Hi, this is Bruce with Blue Sky Video Productions, YouTube strategist and live stream producer. And today's show is great because we've got a sales expert, sales coach, and there are ways of different ways of selling. Basically, the hammer over their head, like buy from me, and then there's the Jedi method, which is you will buy from me. So I think we're kind of in the between with this with Clancy Clark, great guest, and let's get into the show. Hi.
Hey, Bruce, how are you?
Good. So did I describe you correctly? You're not quite the Jedi, and you're definitely not the hammer over the head, right?
Yeah. I think one of my core characteristics is nonconformist. So yeah, I'm not going to fit into any little box very neatly, and I guess I kind of embrace that.
Okay. And to quick introduction, your book is called Serving or Selling by Serving.
Yes.
And you kind of pull in a lot of your personal journey into the book as a sheep herder or sheepdog herd trainer.
Mm-hmm.
And you live on a great spread out there in Colorado. And you even I did find a video clip of you online that kind of introduces your philosophy with real life. And let me play that real quick.
Hi, everyone. It's Clancy. Welcome to my home, the place we call Goat Camp. And right over there is the beautiful view of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. But the mountain I want to talk to you today about is right back there, and that's Dreamy Mountain. There's a chapter in Selling by Serving called Your Customer is Your Guest, which talks about me being your guide, taking you up Dreamy Mountain, and making the comparison to you being your guide with your customer, taking them through the sales process. Here we are, ready to go. I see you have on your hiking boots and your shorts. You've got your sunscreen and your big sun hat, so that's great. I've got everything we need, plus pepper spray, an emergency whistle, first aid kit. I always say better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And that's something for you to really keep in mind with your customers. Nothing will shake their confidence in you as their guide, leading them through the sales process more than if you forget something that you need and have to go back and start all over.
So it looks like you're having some fun with that too.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun making that. That really was fun.
And when I first looked at the mountain, it didn't really look like a mountain. It looked more like a hill. Like it would take you like 2 minutes to walk up. But then we actually get closer to it. It actually looks like a bit of a challenge. Yeah,
it's a good rock scramble up there. It's probably 500 or 600 feet high from the base, and there's kind of a lot of boulder hopping and different places that you need to go. So yeah, it's not, it doesn't compare with our big 14,000 foot peaks, of course, but it's not just a little pile of rocks back there. It's a climb, and when you get up top, you have an outstanding view all the way around 360.
Yep, and we have here in Chicago. We have a town called Vernon Hills, which I think is like an incline of 30 feet or something like that.
Yeah, the high spot.
Yep. So let's talk a little bit about your message and about selling and how people can really, I guess, embrace some of your philosophy, because you do mesh your personal journey with the book.
Yeah, absolutely, Bruce. And it's, I think the subhead of my book says a lot. It says, find fulfillment in your career and sell more than you ever thought possible. And I think there's a lot more strategic verbiage in there than might first meet the eye. It doesn't say sell more than you ever thought possible and then find fulfillment. It comes in a particular order. And so my whole message is to help sales professionals, and I like doing this in areas outside of sales as well, but to be fulfilled in what they're doing. And my own experience is, and my own observation is, that the ones who are truly fulfilled, passionate about what they're doing, and place the highest priority on service to others, actually sell more stuff, make more money, get more awards than those that chase those things as an end unto itself. And I think that's a real core part of my message. And I see so many people become overwhelmed, frustrated, who aren't even proud of being in sales because, they have that stereotype in their mind of the pushy salesperson always wanting to just earn a snappy dollar. And in all my 30 years of selling, I had the philosophy it would be an honorable profession because I would make it so. By going out, meeting people, finding ways to help them, and I've kind of let the sales part take care of itself.
So how much of that actually comes back to believing in your product or service?
I think a lot of it does, because my product or service has to support me and my message. And if it doesn't, I mean, at the end of the day, this is business. Performance is what cuts it, right? Mm-hmm. And if I'm not representing a product or service that I wouldn't use myself, or that I don't truly believe is in the best interest of my client, I have no business being there. I either need to find someone else with whom my product or service is a match, or find a different product or service to take to the market if it doesn't match anybody. So yep. I've been fortunate to always be representing products and services that were never the least expensive, because I don't believe in that. There's, a cheap price is kind of never enough. There's always, they always want more of that, it seems, but that I felt represented great value. And then when I, through my efforts and my attitudes and my values, wrap a lot of value around that product or service, it becomes even a greater asset to my customer.
And so I guess it is kind of your goal in life is to kind of have that work-life balance where you believe in the product, but also you believe in yourself, and you don't, do you throw yourself entirely into the product, or do you leave room for life?
Yeah, I say it over and over again in Selling by Serving. As much as I love what I do not live to work. I work so that I can live the life that you saw in the video there in Southern Colorado, which was at one point, everything that you see there was on a vision board. Not this specific place, because we didn't know the piece of property that we were going to buy, but a beautiful mountain home in Colorado, and my wife's donkey, and all of it. It once existed in a vision. And now, as I say all the time, that cover of Selling by Serving is the same view that you saw in the video, but it's at sunset. And I tell people all the time, I once saw that only in my mind, and now I see it every day with my eyes. And I think that's a big part of fulfillment in life, is living your dreams and doing the things that you can visualize and that you believe are possible for you. So yeah, if you don't make room for that and place that as a priority, I don't think it's ever going to happen.
So are you still on the road selling, or are you kind of reserved to your little spot in Colorado?
Yes and yes. I still do feed dairy cows down in New Mexico. I'm responsible for the nutritional requirements and health and maintenance of about 20,000 dairy cows down there. And I go there 1 out of 3 weeks. With COVID, I haven't been doing a lot of prospecting for any new business. So I've just kind of been taking care of my existing customers. And then, of course, with this new platform, with this Beyond the Method selling, that is selling. I'm looking for people who embrace my message. And I just had a Zoom meeting yesterday with 2 executives from an insurance company out of Denver. And they want me to possibly keynote some of their events and sort of theme them around Selling by Serving. So yeah, but the way I approach it, and always have done, is I like to take what I call massive definitive action, which is, talking to everybody in the marketplace. I've been spending a lot of time on LinkedIn, connecting with sales leaders, sales professionals, offering everybody a signed copy of my book. And then knowing that those ones who are looking for me will come back and say, yes, I want you to speak to my sales team, or would you consider keynoting one of our conferences, or whatever it might be. And it's a fun way to develop business, because I'm not trying to persuade or convince anybody. I'm just sharing my message with a lot of passion and a high level of activity. And the ones that are looking for me connect to me, and then we have a mutually beneficial relationship.
Yep. So we've got a number of people here. Jesse or Michelle, hi, thank you, and Wes, Megaminds, and we can talk about that a little bit too. This new mastermind group, and hi Ray. So again, So again, I think that's, I think you came into this group, this mastermind group called Megaminds. Was it through Michelle?
Yes, it was.
And how have you ever been part of a mastermind group before? And how has that kind of opened your eyes or enlightened you at all?
I never have. I know people that have. I've been around them. I understand the concept, and I just had never had the opportunity. So, with most things in my life, Bruce, I'm like, why not? Be open-minded and why not give it a try? I won't know until I have direct conscious contact with it. And so absolutely. And what I have found in there is just a super high quality group of individuals that I can learn from, listen to, share my experiences with. And already, I've only been in it a short while, but I feel there's a real synergy there in that type of a group of minds and personalities and energies that I can draw from and take back out into what I'm doing, both with my feeding my dairy cows and developing my Beyond the Method selling platform.
And how is that different? Are you a member of any like chambers of commerce or other industry groups?
Not so much industry groups. I do serve on the board of directors for the Continental Divide Trail Coalition, which is a nonprofit organization charged with overseeing the Continental Divide National Scenic Trail that runs 3,100 miles from the Mexican border to the Canadian border. And so I'm involved in all the aspects of that, promoting, preserving, and completing and protecting that trail. So, and I've been involved in a few other organizations, but as volunteers, such as Special Olympics and some other groups.
And so with those groups, is it a networking group to find more customers, or is it a relationship building group where you can actually offer your expertise?
For me, it's always about having a mind to help people in some way. And that is, I really try and keep that as a pure motive, Bruce, that I want to help people. It makes me feel so good to help another human being or another animal for that matter, any other entity, but especially in regards to people. I've often said, I don't know if it's selfish or selfless to help other people, because I know I get at least as much out of it as the other individual does. But it doesn't really matter who benefits more, as long as both benefit. So when I approached the executive director of the Continental Divide Trail Coalition, my whole attitude was, I'm very impressed with what you're doing. I love the outdoors. I love the Continental Divide Trail and the idea of preserving it. What might I do to help? What might I have to offer that could help what you're doing? And so it's very much the attitude of being one among, and rather than what's in it for me, it's a matter of how may I serve.
And so you've worked with both people and animals. Are they what's can you describe as what's similar to working with them and what's dissimilar?
Let's see. Animals are better than people, I would say, at living in the moment. We tend to be somewhere else. If I'm out walking my dog, she's right there on the walk. She's enjoying every sniff along the way and watching a bird fly overhead. And I might be somewhere else in my mind. And they're my great teachers that way, that all I have is that present moment. I can't do anything about the phone call I'm supposed to do at 1 o'clock when I'm walking the dog at 9 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And so I learn from them that way. And also that level of loyalty and unquestioning sort of willingness to go along. I always say with my dog, if I say, hey, you want to go for a ride? If I could humanize her, she doesn't say, well, where are we going? And when was the last time you had the oil changed? And do you have enough food and water for it? She jumps in. She doesn't know whether we're going 10 minutes down the road to the post office or whether we're going to be gone for 10 days. But she trusts that I'm going to take care of her. And I think there's great lessons in that in life. I can trust that if I do the right things, I'm going to be taken care of. And it's always been the case. And I can trust in that process. And so, but the ways that animals are similar to people is, I think they respond to attention and affection and positive reinforcement. And I think that's important when working with people, is that I always say in animal training, if I have a right to reprimand, I have an obligation to praise. And I think that's true whether it be with our children or coworkers or subordinates or whatever.
Yeah. And Shelley's saying the dogs rock.
Dogs do rock.
So I've got one picture here of you in your early days. And you're talking about people take the aptitude tests to discover who they want to be back in like high school and college. Is there an aptitude test to becoming a trainer or a sheepdog trainer?
No, I don't believe so. That dog there, that red dog is one of the most special dogs I ever have ever had the pleasure of working with. His name was Griff. He had a long, productive working life of about 12 years, and then he had 3 years in retirement. I write about him in the book in the chapter called The Servant's Heart on Four Paws. And we just had this amazing partnership. But he had the innate abilities and instincts that have been bred into him for centuries. And it was a matter of me learning how to adapt to that and help bring the most of that out and work with him rather than try and dominate him. And I would always tell people, he went on to win many championships. And whenever someone would compliment me, after that was in a competition there, a sheepdog trial competition. And when I would come off the field, somebody would say, "Oh, wow, that is an amazing dog. Did you train him all yourself?" And I said, "Yeah, but he works pretty good anyway." Meaning my job is to not mess him up. And then the rest of it's pretty much there. You can only work with what's there. So like so many things in life and in our professions, Bruce, and in our hobbies, I think if a person has a high level of interest in something and is willing to learn and apply a hardworking work ethic, they will be successful.
Excellent. And so you kind of alluded to how people are training and learning. As far as sales goes, you kind of outline your philosophy in your book. You look at the traditional method, which is prospect, initiate contact, qualify, present the offer, overcoming objections, closing the sale, get referrals, which then comes back to getting more leads. But you kind of redefine that in your own way.
Yes.
And I guess we'll look up your philosophy, which is more preparation. There's no longer what we call cold calling, because good preparation is not going to be cold call. And
yeah,
can you walk us through this process?
So, what I always say there, Bruce, is that you can slice and dice sales any way you want. This is a way that makes sense to me. And one thing I do write about this in Selling by Serving, I avoid and encourage all salespeople to stop using the term cold calling, because it just doesn't sound like fun, right? I mean, if I said to you, Bruce, let's go out and cold call for 6 hours, it's like saying, let's just go out and get the cold shoulder and get rejected and beaten down. That sounds great, huh? And then we'll go, celebrate.
Well, let's go talk. Well, and in some cases, people say, let's go talk to people we've never talked to before, who have no idea who we are, what we do, what our value is, and try to, as we open up the show with, hit them over the head with our message.
Yeah. And I think perhaps the most valuable advice I can offer, especially to a new salesperson, is stop using that term cold call, because it's fear-inducing to me. Let's use the term introductory call. We're going to go make introductions. And when I talk about, thank you, Michelle, when I talk about introductions, I'm not there to say, "Hi, Bruce, my name is Clancy Clark. I work with XIZ company, and I want to talk to you about our company and our products and how we, help people in your industry." Because all you're going to hear is, from me, you're going to hear I, me, my company, my products. And you're immediately a little put off by that, I think. And if I come in and say, "Hi, Bruce, my name is Clancy Clark. My reason for coming here today was to meet you. And I'd like to begin to develop a relationship with you, learn about you, your business, and in time tell you a little about what we do and see what potential we have for a mutually beneficial business relationship." How does that sound? And I've always found people open to that. Now, you may say, "I'm busy, don't come, not today," or come back next month and don't call on me more than once a month. You may set a lot of parameters, But in 30 years, I can count on one hand the number of people who have ever just flat out said, no, don't come back when I use that approach. And it makes it so much more enjoyable to think, I'm going to go out and meet new people. That's the worst that's going to happen today, is I can make some new friends.
Yep. So if you're in a group, or if you're entering a room, would you rather be a room full of people you already know or people of strangers?
Either one is equally fine. Either one has, if it's people I know, just like this today when we jumped on before this show, it's just good to see you. I know you a little bit from our associations, but I'm eager to learn more about you. And it's nice to see a friendly face and a familiar one, and one who I know I have some alignment with. And yet, walking into a room full of people I've never met and don't know, to me, though, every one of them has a story. Every one of them has a genius area that I want to hear about and learn. So, when I walk in, my whole internal mantra is, hi. Walk up to people. Hi, my name's Clancy. Tell me about yourself. And then listen. And I learn so much, and I love the idea that everyone has a unique story. Everyone has what I call their genius area, which is an area where they're unique and have special talents, skills, and experience. And I think to look at it that way takes away a lot of the judgment that sometimes society wants to place on different people for where they are in career or with their areas of expertise.
Yeah, I think Michelle points out, I think it's your approach. So it's your state of mind and your attitude going in, which really determines your outcome, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we all, know people who have that special quality. They can walk into a room full of strangers, and just their presence there kind of changes the energy in the room. And the people are aware that they're in the presence of a special individual. And I think anybody can be that special individual. I think it has to do with this pure motive of wanting to learn, of wanting to honor everyone's story, everyone's experience, everyone's area of expertise, look for areas of alignment. I think that's what makes that special person. It's not like they're born with it. It's the values that they exhibit.
So how would you classify your personality? Are you an outgoing personality, or are you an introvert?
I think I'm a little of both. I've studied this, and I love Susan Cain's book, The Power of Quiet. No, it's called Quiet, The Power of Introversion in a World That Can't Stop Talking. And she's brilliant. And she's a true introvert. But, I talk about this a lot with my wife. Doing something like this or doing a presentation to a group, boy, I get pretty wound up. There's nothing that exists in my world right now except this, being here with you. And I pour myself into it 100%. And yet when something like that is over, or in other times in my life, I treasure my quiet time here. We live in a very remote area, and I can go sit out on the deck and just have a cup of tea or coffee and watch the bluebirds nesting. And I really value that aspect of my life. And I also find after, let's say I do a seminar that's going to take a half a day or whatever, and at the end of that day, I have this really wonderful feeling of exhaustion. It's that super satisfied level of tired. I know I'm going to sleep well. I've poured everything I have into what I was doing, and I feel pretty drained, but not like in a bad way, like I've been flogged, in a way that it's that sort of warm shower, relaxed feeling of tired. It's very good. And so I don't know if I fit neatly into either category, introvert or extrovert. I think I have both qualities that are vital to who I am.
I think in some cases, I would classify myself as introvert, although I'm forcing myself to be extrovert, or at least conversational. And I think your book really helped a lot because it kind of quantified some of the things that I think, but really couldn't identify. So that really, actually, let's bring that up real quick before we sign up, because we only have a few more minutes. But you've got your book, which is, you can find content about you at your website, which is ClacyClark.cc, which I think is very unique. .com.
Yes, thank you.
And then the CC stands for Clancy Clark, of course, right?
Yes, of course it does. It's my own personalized
Domain.
domain ending. It was actually it was a country code for, I think, an island off Australia or something. But those country codes have now become available to everybody. But yeah, it fits in with my nonconformity, not being a .com like the rest of the world, and it did seem kind of neat because it was my initials, so we went with it.
Okay. And so you actually are open to speaking as well as your services.
Yes, I'm open to speaking. I have a vision to do some great immersive workshops, which COVID kind of put on hold, but they will happen. And yes, people can link there at my website to, there's a button that says order the book. It's available in paperback, Kindle, and Audible, which I recorded myself, and I'm actually pretty proud of the way it turned out. It's just me telling my Clancy stories, just like I'm talking here. There you go. And then that links to Amazon, Kindle Direct Publishing. So yeah, I'm open to doing anything that would help people and sales professionals, sales leaders in the area of more fulfillment, because that's going to translate into less turnover within the sales team, better goodwill in the marketplace, and a lot of actual tangible benefits. But they're more indirect by making sure that a sales professional is fulfilled in what they're doing. That's my primary mission. So yeah, the good thing about being my own business and being sort of, I just launched it in June of last year, is that I'm letting it evolve and go where the opportunity is and where I can be of the most service. So with like those individuals I met with yesterday, we're talking about co-creating something just for their company that's going to be most beneficial to them. So I'm open to any avenues.
And then Michelle is saying that the book is a must read. And I love the way it's designed too, because the first part of the book is more of an outline, the instruction, kind of like the diagram that we pulled up, because this was like the first part of the book. But then you go into more personal experiences in the second part of the book with philosophy as well.
Yeah, one of my other core values, I'm a natural storyteller, and it's just a part of who I am. And I get a lot of compliments on the stories. And I think it's fun to use stories, real stories. They're all true stories from my life and examples, humanize animals and put human qualities on them to illustrate these concepts of service, of the servant's heart, of a hardworking work ethic, and using a pat goat to demonstrate a servant's heart and a hardworking work ethic. Yeah, there's Pink Floyd, the diminutive pat goat with the outsized work ethic. He's smaller than all our other little pat goats. But he's got a heart of gold. He's always right there by my side. He won't let any of the other goats get between me and him. He carries his little load with pride. He never gives up. He never backs down. And he's absolutely earned his spot on the pack string. But he's not the, quote, typical pack goat by externalities, but he has absolutely earned his place. And I think that's true in sales. There is no salesman's personality. Anyone can help, anyone can serve, anyone can find a way to be an asset.
Yeah, I kind of think you should expand on that one phrase there, be an asset, not an ass.
Yeah, good point. Yes, I think that's important. If I find a way to be an asset to my customer, then I am the hub of the value wheel for that, and my product or service supports me. But if it's the other way around, if the product or service is the primary value and I'm there to support it, that product or service is only going to be the one until a better one comes along. But if I'm the asset, then when someone comes along promising better, cheaper, and faster, then they're apt to say, no, we're pretty happy with Clancy. And he might call me and say, I need to reconcile a difference in price or whatever. But there's a huge difference as if I'm the asset versus when my product is the primary asset.
So Ray has a question. Who is your greatest influence in your career in sales early on?
Oh, my greatest influence.
Was it a person or was it an animal?
I guess it was with the company that I was with in Western Montana, where I sold vitamin and mineral supplements to ranchers. We had a sales trainer, a full-time sales trainer in that organization. His name was Steve Funky. He was the funkiest guy in the company, and he was brilliant. And he was very polished, but he also had this idea of finding a true need within the client and satisfying that need with what we did. And that helped to orient my mind toward that philosophy. So Steve Funky.
And also there's one great story in the book. It is about follow up and follow through, which I feel is lost on most people. They understand the concept of following up, follow through, but they don't actually do it. You had one story in your book about that. Can you go into that quickly?
Yeah. So I was new in sales. It was Western Montana, and it was my first time when I was in the running for selling a whole lot of our supplement to a cattle operation for their summer grazing program. And I had presented our trials and our data and kind of the specs of what we were doing to this ranch manager. And as I was leaving, I've always been a cap wearer. If I wasn't on this show, if I'm outside, I wear a cap. And I was wearing a baseball cap with my company's name and logo on. He said, "I like your hat." And I said, "Well, I'd be happy to send you one if you'd like." He said, "That'd be great." So I went home and I scrounged around, found a cap, threw it in a box, scribbled the guy's name on it, and dropped it in the post office the next day. Didn't think anything of it. And a few days later, I get a call from him. And he said, "Oh, I got your hat." And I said, "Oh, great. How does it look on you?" He said, "I don't know. I don't wear hats. My wife says I look goofy in them." And I said, and I kind of was shocked. And he said, "I just called to let you know you got the business." And I just didn't know what to say. I was like, well, I was thinking, thank you. And then he cut in and said, "I just wanted to let you know there was 2 other guys in the running for this business. I asked them both to send me a cap and neither one did. And I asked myself, if they don't do that for me, what else will they not do for me?" And so a $7 company hat turned into a $27,000 sale. Now that may not sound like much, but that was like 92, 93. So that's what, $684,000 in today's money. So it was a big deal at the time. It was my first where I sold a complete truckload full of our supplement. And I never forgot it, but there was no way I wasn't going to send him the hat. If I tell you I'm going to be somewhere at 10 o'clock, I'm going to be there. If I tell you I'm going to send you something or send an email, and I think that's really lost in today's business world. Unfortunately, the good news is if you are willing to do those little things, and my saying is it's the little things that make the big difference. If you are willing to do those things, you'll really stand out. I believe that.
Great. And Shelley says it's a great story. I love that story. I know you've got a number of more stories, and the way to get those stories is to get the book.
Yes, and there's also a contact button there on the website. I love hearing from people. If people care to connect with me or follow me on LinkedIn, I'm there posting a lot of my philosophy on a regular basis and acknowledging other people who are influential in what I'm doing. And I love hearing from people. If there's anything I can do to help anyone out there that's listening, it would be my pleasure to hear from you.
Great. And there's the website, ClacyClark.cc.
Yes.
So this is great. I love having you, talking to you. It's been really, I think I've learned more in this past half hour than watching your other interviews. And you are, on those who want to learn more that wasn't covered here, just Google or go to YouTube and look for Clancy Clark, and he's done other appearances across the interwebs with some even more elaborate stories.
Bruce, thank you for having me. It's been a blast, and thank you again. It's really good to get to know a little more about you and have this wonderful exchange of ideas, and I look forward to seeing you in our next Megamind session, and it's just been a real pleasure. So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. And see you on the other side.